In a quiet American town, surrounded by golden wheat fields and the gentle hum of cicadas, lived a boy named Jake Carter. Jake was smart, brilliant, even his teachers praised him, and his friends admired how easily he grasped new concepts. But Jake had one big flaw: he never took time seriously. Instead of studying, he spent hours gaming, scrolling through his phone, and chatting with friends. Whenever his parents reminded him to focus, he'd shrug and say, "Relax, Mom, I've got time. I'll do it later." But later never came. One crisp autumn afternoon, the school hallways buzzed with excitement. The midterm exam results were out. Jake walked toward the board with his usual confidence, expecting to see his name among the top scorers. But when he found it, his stomach dropped. Jake Carter, C in math, D in science, F in history. His hands trembled. His first ever failing grade. His best friend, Sam, nudged him. "Dude, what happened?" Jake had no answer. He had always assumed he could cram later, but later had slipped right through his fingers. At home, his parents said nothing. They stared at his report card. Their silence stung more than any lecture could. That night, for the first time, Jake felt fear. What if he wasn't as smart as he thought? What if he had wasted too much time? But even then, a familiar thought crept into his mind. "I'll figure it out tomorrow." The next evening, Jake wandered into the town park, lost in thought. He found himself sitting on an old wooden bench, where an elderly man in an expensive suit was tossing breadcrumbs to the pigeons. Noticing Jake's troubled expression, the man smiled. "Something on your mind, kid?" Jake hesitated, then sighed. "I messed up. I thought I had time, but now, I don't know if I can fix it." The old man chuckled. "On the illusion of endless time. Let me tell you a story, son." Jake rolled his eyes. Another boring life lesson. But something about the man's calm voice made him stay. The tale of the clockmaker. Once, in a bustling city, there was a young clockmaker named Victor. He could craft the most intricate, beautiful timepieces anyone had ever seen. But Victor had a terrible habit: he always thought he had more time. Customers would come in, placing orders for expensive watches. He'd nod, smile, and say, "I'll start tomorrow." But tomorrow turned into next week. Next week turned into next month. Slowly, people stopped coming. His business crumbled, and he lost everything. One night, as he sat in his empty shop, an old man entered, placing a golden pocket watch on the counter. "This is a special watch," the man said. "Each time you waste a day, 1 second disappears, and no matter what you do, those lost seconds never return." Victor scarfed until he saw it happen. Right before his eyes, the watch lost a second, then another, and another. Panicked, he tried to rewind it, but it was too late. He finally understood. Time was the most valuable thing in the world, and he had thrown it away. The old man paused and looked at Jake. "You remind me of Victor," he said. "Tell me, if you had that watch, how many seconds would already be gone?" Jake felt a chill run down his spine. For the first time, he saw the truth. He had been throwing away time. It was worthless. What happened to Victor? Jake asked quietly. The old man smiled. He changed. He stopped saying tomorrow and started saying today. He rebuilt his shop, and this time, he became the greatest clockmaker the city had ever known. Because he finally understood, once time is lost, it never comes back. Jake sat there, staring at the ground. He suddenly felt a deep urgency he had never felt before. He had to change, not tomorrow, now. That night, Jake deleted his social media apps, turned off his PlayStation, and wrote down a plan. 6 a.m. Wake up and study one subject before school. 3:30 p.m. Review notes instead of gaming. 7 p.m. No distractions while doing homework. 10 p.m. Sleep early to wake up energized. The first few days were brutal. He struggled. His hands itched to grab his phone. His mind screamed for just one more game. But then, he'd picture Victor's watch, Every wasted second is gone forever. Day by day, he got better. His focus improved. His grades climbed. And when the final exam results were posted, he scanned the list, holding his breath. Jake Carter, in math, A in science, plus in history. He exhaled, a grin spreading across his face. And just like Victor, he had finally learned that time was his greatest treasure. Time is like a river, it never flows backward. Every second you waste is gone forever. You can't rewind life, you can't hit pause, but you can decide right now what you'll do with the time you have left. So ask yourself, are you using your time wisely, or are you letting it slip away? What is one thing you've been postponing for tomorrow? And what will you do today to change that?